I am joined by, right next to me, Honorable Dan Manzo, Member of Parliament Makueni. Welcome to the program. Next to him is Honorable Martha Wangari, Member of Parliament Gilgil. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ahiga. And
at my far right, I'm joined by Honorable Moses Kajwang, Senator Homa Bay. Welcome to the program as well. I'll start with you, Honorable Manzo, and of course, for our viewers at home, we also want to engage you in this discussion. Today, we're asking you, the National Super Alliance has threatened to go to court to challenge the Electoral Amendments Bill. Of course, we get more clarification from our guest here. Do you agree with their stance? Do you agree with their move to threaten to go to court to challenge the Electoral Amendments Bill? Talk to us. 22422 is our SMS line, and talk to us on our social media platforms, the hashtag #PowerBreakfast at Citizen TV Kenya. Let me read some of the headlines today. We begin with the Standard, page 1. MP's team turns Chebukati away. Legislators read mischief after poll agency boss appears before the committee collecting views on proposed electoral laws without his commissioners. And of course, for the bigger story, you will have to turn to page 8. Let me just read maybe one paragraph before I engage my guest here in studio. MPs yesterday turned away the electoral agency chairman and blocked him from presenting proposals on election law amendments. They expressed fear that Mr. Chebukati might present his own views and not those of the commission. That is where we begin this discussion. Honorable Manzo, was the invite yesterday to the IEBC as a body, as a commission, or to the IEBC as represented by the chair?
Well, it was invited as a commission, and the commission is under the constitution represented by the chair. So the signature of the chair ordinarily should carry the views of the commission. It means the commission has met together, they have deliberated, most probably there are minutes, and then finally the chairman represents them.
Okay, so what can we read? What is the message out of what we saw yesterday, where he turns up alone at 5 p.m. He tries to justify his position, but ultimately he's told, come back at, was it 7 or 9, and come with a complete team. What can we read into that situation?
Well, first of all, Parliament was being mischievous.
It was Parliament being mischievous?
Yes, Parliament was being mischievous. You know, the source of this law is from the executive, and it has directions in a certain way, and it must be. In fact, the executive is the one making law. The work of the parliamentary Jubilee team is just to rubber stamp this law, and that's why they took it upon themselves to take an opportunity to frustrate Chebukati, who in their thinking have been thinking is against them. But as far as I know, he is as fair as they can get.
Okay, we'll come back and take a look at why Chebukati may have decided to go alone, and I'll be talking to Honorable Wangari shortly. But let me cross over to Senator Kajwang and also get your view on what we saw yesterday before the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. Did we see a divided IBC washing their dirty linen in public? Because no, some felt that way.
It was not about a divided IBC. It was about a committee that was biased, that had a preconceived notion. They had not even listened to Chebukati's submission, and they had already decided that Chebukati could not make that submission alone. First of all, Chebukati would come as a chairperson of the IBC, but also as a Kenyan citizen, because this is public participation. As a Kenyan citizen, he has a right.
But which of those two positions was the key reason why he was invited?
I can't tell where he got, but public participation, the way it is constructed, that is why we saw people like Kalembe Ndile. You don't ask why Kalembe Ndile was there, because he's a member of the public who has been asked to bring his views. But I want to assume that Chebukati was there as the chairperson of the IBC.
Okay.
If you read the constitution, when it comes to executive authority in this country, and even in the county governments, it is exercised by the president and the cabinet secretaries. Now, are we going to say one day that the president is incompetent to speak on behalf of this nation unless he's surrounded by the cabinet? No. Chebukati is a chairperson of the IBC, and once they've had a plenary internally, and they've taken a position as a plenary and as a commission, then is a spokesperson of the commission. Why did this particular select committee, which we feel is really set up in the wrong manner, why did they think that Chebukati was going to present his own views even before they had listened to those views? This is because the bill, if you see the bill, the intention of the bill, first of all, is to kill Chebukati professionally. Because one, they are reducing the threshold for qualification to be the chairperson of the IBC. Number two, they are bringing something very, very mischievous and very curious, saying that if the chairperson is absent for any reason, you know, they've been misleading the nation that for other institutions or other offices, there is a succession plan. In the case of the president, the deputy president only steps in if the president is absent by death, God forbid, or by resignation or other circumstances that are envisaged in the Constitution. It is not for any reason. If it is for any reason, it could mean that the deputy president can take over if the president was inebriated and unable to carry out his functions. But that should not be the intention of legislation. So Chebukati is the target of these amendments that are being sanitized at county.
And you feel that is why he went alone to...
No, that's not why he went alone. He went alone as a chairperson. The reason why he was chased away...
Okay, you're talking about the reason why he was chased away.
That could be the reason
why. We'll come back because I'm curious to get your views on why he went alone. He had a choice. The commissioners must have known he was going. As to why he chose to go alone, rather, let's come back and talk about that. But let me get Honorable Wangari's views on the very interesting series of events we saw last night.
I think, Wahiga, let's start by also noting that the commission eventually present their views. But I want to put it in context. If you look at the recent events, there is even one case where we were treated to a division by the commissioners. A decision that had been taken by Chebukati that was owned by 2 or 3 commissioners. It was actually reported in the media, and we did not manufacture that. It was actually playing out in the public domain. So I think when you saw what the committee did, it was at the background of what had happened earlier in terms of creating confidence, in terms of getting a credible representation. And I think it was all in their rights to actually ask or request that the chairman does not come alone because of that background of what had happened before, so that it does not repeat again. Because we don't have time. You must realize that yesterday was the last day for the public participation. We did not want a situation where the commissioners now would come back again and say the chairman did not represent our views, because we've seen it before. So I think being cautious is not being mischievous. And I think I want to respond to what my friend Honorable Manzo has said, that this law is originating from the executive, and I think it's just demeaning, and it is just casting aspersions to your fellow members of parliament who are the publishers of these bills, because the president does not make law, and it is clear. Even the bill is published by a renowned person, Cheptumo, in the National Assembly, and a very good lawyer who has served in many public positions, Senator Fatuma Dula. And I think it's good to give credit where it's due, that everyone has the right to do that, and I think Parliament has the mandate to do that and to listen to views. And you also must realize you cannot just say Chebukati is just coming as a member of the public. We know the significance of the chairman of IEBC, so it can be treated like Kalembe Dile. It cannot be treated like...
If I can interrupt you, Honorable Wangari, the Jubilee Party has consistently stated that they're confident in the IEBC.
Yes.
Yet at the same time you talk about divisions. How confident can you be in a body that clearly seems to have internal wrangles?
I think internal wrangles, you know, Kahiga, even people are not homogeneous. And I think every institution, even where you're working now, it does not mean you always agree on positions.
But that does not mean we agree on key fundamentals.
That does not mean you are dysfunctional. Does not mean you are not working. In fact,
some would describe what we saw yesterday as a sense of dysfunctionalness, if I can use a word like that. How can a chairman come alone?
Yeah.
And then be turned away and seemingly have to go and coerce the other commissioners to have to come back?
I don't think there was coercion. I don't think there was coercion. In any case, even those commissioners were there, even as members. They would have presented a contrary view if they felt different from what had been presented by the chairman. And they had the right to do that. But I think we are reading too much into it, because eventually, did the commission give their views or not? And I think that is what we should focus on the material presentation by the chairman.
Okay. Honorable Manzo,
yes,
Chebukati claims that he is against the amendments because they could cause confusion to poll officials who have already been trained. Do you agree with his view?
Yes, first of all, the amendments are coming in late. Secondly, they are not in conformity with the court judgment, which is what Chebukati's commission is using to run the next election. Of course, the amendments are not in good faith. First of all, they degrade the commission. They are against the law. They are unconstitutional. And they will not get anywhere anyway, even if, we have just misused public funds by running this executive Jubilee committee in Parliament. And I want to say that when it came to the floor of the House...
You called it a Jubilee committee?
Yes, it is a Jubilee committee. The first time when it came to the floor of the House, I raised a few objections as to the composition, as to the validity of the Honorable Cheptumo, who I have a lot of respect for, as a senior lawyer. And, the leader majority agreed with me that there was an anomaly, you know, with the way the bill first was presented on the floor of the House. Actually, I engaged the Honorable Chebukati, who is a personal friend, as to why he appeared there as a mover and not the leader of majority. And you can see there was outright confusion from the beginning. The truth of the matter is the executive is the originator of this bill, and is just using Parliament to rubber stamp it. It is his own bill for his own purposes. Okay.
That's your take. Senator, let me come to you. Let's take a look at specific sections of the amendments. To some extent, from what we could see, IBC, or at least some members within the IBC, have shown that they quote-unquote agree with some of the proposals, but they have issues with Section 6 on the qualification of the chairperson. The main issue being the election is managed through complex legal procedures that require the head of the institution to be competent in law. Can you add your view on that?
Definitely. There was a reason why we put that requirement, that the chair of the IBC must be someone qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court, not a judge of any other court, a judge of the Supreme Court, because he's making a very fundamental decision on affirmation of the choices that Kenyans have made. But when you reduce that threshold and you leave it open, it means that you know, it's like asking a carpenter to undertake a tooth operation on a child. It just doesn't work, because it'll come with hammers and nails, and the child will be in pain. So there was absolutely no reason for Jubilee to propose that we reduce that threshold. The only reading that I have on this is that they've got a preferred commissioner in that commission who does not meet those requirements, who they hope can stand in for Chebukati in the event that Chebukati is absent for any reason. And absent for any reason, Waiga, could mean that Nairobi business community can be deployed to the doorstep of Chebukati and block him from getting out of his
despite his heavy security.
Despite his heavy security. I mean, we've seen Nairobi business community take over the streets of Nairobi. Even today, they are the ones who are going to be causing insecurity on the streets of Nairobi. So someone can block, can cause a blockade on Chebukati. He fails to show up at Anniversary Towers, and then somebody else who does not have the qualifications required of a chair then can be nominated to be the chair. That is the plan. That is a practical implication of this. Because are we saying that there's a shortage of people in Kenya with those qualifications for us then to reduce it? Are we saying that those qualifications have brought certain problems? Are we saying that those qualifications are the ones that led to the nullification of the last elections? What problem are we trying to solve by reducing that threshold?
How does NASA plan to fight these electoral laws? They've talked about them in press conferences. It's been partly mentioned as one of the reasons why the demos are taking place as well. What are the other options moving forward? We've had rumors of a court case. Can you give us shed light on
all
this?
The power that we wield as members of parliament, as members of independent commissions, as president, of members of the cabinet, it derives from the people. Today is a Friday. We are going to go to the street. We'll be doing peaceful demonstrations, peaceful protests, because we believe that the people also have a stake in these significant decisions that affect their lives. It is a right that is guaranteed and given to us by the Constitution. We shall go straight to the people. We shall use other legal means, be it the court, be it parliament itself, be it the ballot. We have a lot of options. The only notion that we must disabuse, which Jubilee has been peddling around, that when we go out for demonstrations and protests, then we are resorting to extrajudicial or extra constitutional means. Those are not extra constitutional means. That is a right that is given to us in the Constitution. The only thing that is extra constitutional are the Nairobi business community type of interventions. I mean, we are looking at Mungiki right in the face, rebaptized as Nairobi business community, and we think that it is all right.
You have proof about that?
It could not.
How do you identify it? Just for clarification, our viewers.
Let me give it to you. Look at the script we have seen in the past investigations. Oathing, sniffing, the kind of intonations and incantations.
Have you seen that happening with the Nairobi? I mean, again, we don't know where they come from, and that is fair enough.
Yes, we have seen that. And Waihika, this is something that I'm willing to stand for. We are looking at the emergence of a dangerous tribal militia right in our eyes. Call it anything else. Say it is not Mungiki. Call it Nairobi business community. These are the kind of people that Kaparo should be following, not members of parliament like Babu Owino and Gladys Wanga, who say things that are reality. people who are taking positions based on tribal affiliation.
Okay, we'll come back because the Babu Owino comment, anyway, he's disowned it, but nevertheless, go ahead, Honorable Wangari. I'm coming to you.
It surprises me to hear Honorable Kajwang defend Honorable Babu Owino, but I won't even go to that. I think let us first go to the critical things that he has raised. First of all, I don't think there is worse Mungiki or there is worse militia than the boda people in Kisumu who terrorize women who are just having a conference in a hotel. I don't think there is worse militia than what we have seen in terms of burning houses in Kisumu by the same boda operators that now you want to protect and call others Mungiki who have not done any crime. In fact, I want him to prove here that something has been done or something has been burnt or a business has been closed because Nairobi business community or whoever it is talking about, because someone has dreadlocks is definitely Mungiki. I think these are stereotypical and they are really not necessary at this point. And I think let us deal with hooliganism for what it is. If you go to the streets and you step on my rights, your rights end right there. That you don't step on my rights. And I think solving these things on the streets must be really a shame for members of parliament who have the rare opportunity to present these views that they are articulating very well here on Citizen to Parliament. They had that time to actually present their views, even up to yesterday, to the committee and say, you know what, even if you want to reduce this, can you mark what are the justifications? And I think the Jubilee government has been very magnanimous in terms of accommodating the minority view. And I think this has been demonstrated since 11th Parliament. I served with Honorable Kajwang in the Senate, and I'll tell you, even the Legal Affairs Committee, we actually allowed Senator Wako to chair it. It's not that we didn't have numbers to have a chairman, but we gave it out to actually
in terms of leadership dispensation.
Then in terms of the laws,
wouldn't we have seen more
in terms of the laws,
to bring NASA along?
We really have tried.
Into the
Let me
what
tell
ways? Give us,
we
give
have
us,
tried,
give us
and I'll tell you, even in the committee, if the Cheptumo committee, we were still waiting for their names to be incorporated. 6 members, they cannot even agree to incorporate them in that discussion. And I think moving forward, these views that they want to articulate so well in press conferences, these views that they want to articulate on the streets, the one place the members of parliament, if it's not just about gaining public momentum and inciting mass action for their own selfish actions, should be in parliament.
Fair enough, and I'll need to interrupt you, but I want to say one thing. Hang on, in 1 minute. You say that you've given them time to come and join your committee. You've been magnanimous in how you reach out to them. But the messages that we hear in press conferences from the Jubilee Party, in public, in sittings like this one, is that we have the majority. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the way things are. Is that really being magnanimous?
Wahiga, because let me tell you, the one thing they have celebrated is the ruling of the Supreme Court. In Jubilee, we had an issue with it, but we respect the majority ruling because that is how democracies work. You may not agree with them, but you respect it. And I think
you're comparing that majority with
it is the way it is, unless someone has a different definition of democracy.
Let me come back to you, Honorable Manzo.
Yes, I just want to say, first of all, there was no need to join an illegal committee, which is not constituted properly within the law, and also undergoing an illegal activity, which is
making law
attempting to amend the constitution through the back door.
Can you point out the legality before you give your point?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
There are only 2 ways you will amend the constitution, either through a referendum or through parliament for the appropriate sections which parliament has powers to deal with. Right now, there is no way Jubilee, despite the chest thumping, can amend any part of the constitution on the floor of the House because they don't have the 2/3 majority. And again, also, I'll tell you, when you deal with the powers of the Chief Justice and the Deputy, or deal with the sections dealing with the chairperson of IBC, those 2 are embedded in the constitution already, and you cannot make any legislation attempting, to change those functions the way they have attempted to do in this parliamentary committee. So it's an illegal activity in the first place. The Speaker is a lawyer. There are many other lawyers in the House, but because the executive has directed and they are terrorized by the executive. In fact, recently, they were given stern directions when they went to State House on a PG meeting, so that none of them can think. It was aired live, None of them can think for themselves. So the executive is thinking for Jubilee despite the many numbers only one person is thinking for them. They cannot contradict the executive. They have to do as directed by the executive, which amounts to dictatorship. And the so-called tyranny of numbers, if you are just enforcing a decision of an individual, then whether tyranny or not. So the only way you can deal with this is to go back to the courts. I'm very sure the courts will be more than happy to rule these amendments as unconstitutional, and we are waiting for the moment when the president signs.
And you trust that they will rule long before October 26th?
No, you know, first of all, there's a process.
Give direction.
They have to go to the president. First of all, for the president to sign this particular law is in conflict of interest in itself. And only when the president signs, it is just in his favor or to help him achieve what he wants to achieve. For example, when you move away the powers of the Chief Justice, or move away the power of the chairperson of IBC, such that any other person can become a chair, or any other judge can act as a Chief Justice to execute a duty. The swearing in of a president can only be done by the Chief Justice or the deputy by the Constitution. And it is clear. I mean, anyone can see that. So we want him to sign that law, you know, into law, and then we will immediately go to court, and I'm sure the courts will nullify. Okay, I'll have to interrupt you there because we need to take a short break, but we carry on with this discussion. When we come back, we're taking a look at some of the big headlines in your papers today, and we're asking you our big question. Talk to us on 22422. The National Super Alliance has threatened to go to court to challenge the Electoral Amendments Bill. Do you agree with them on that particular move? What are your thoughts on the Electoral Amendments Bill, especially after the last 4 days of public participation before the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee? Share your views also on social media, #PowerBreakfast @Citizen TV Kenya. We carry on with this discussion on the